What is droll is that Dirk Pitt is a 77-year-old man now. The third novel, Iceberg, was written in 1975. In that novel, Dirk Pitt was 32 years old. These novels do not have a sliding time scale. The year in which each novel takes place is literally stated in each novel. The way the world is, and all the theater politics at the time of publication of each novel, are reflected in the world of each novel. So by the time we get to Celtic Empire, the 25th novel, set in the year 2020, Dirk Pitt must be 77 years old. For some strange reason, however, he seems to be aging in reverse now and becoming younger. He has the strength of a healthy, fit man in his 20s or 30s, and is still able to complete all kinds of action stunts and daring-do that requires a lot of physical fitness. This is a man who has undergone many serious injuries and terrible stress, yet at 77 he is still able to scuba dive on tough underwater projects, and hasn't retired, but continues to run NUMA, which is a fictional government organization like NASA, but having to do with oceans instead of space. The government has actually considered at one time creating something like that in real life. I wonder if NUMA would lie about all kinds of shit if it was a real thing, just like NASA has lied about everything. I bet in real life NUMA would build an underwater station, like a habitat, 30 feet underwater in a tank somewhere, and claim that it's a habitat on the bottom of the Mariana Trench or something, and everyone would believe the marvelous scientific advancement. Dirk Pitt's wife is Congresswoman Lauren Smith. She was a congresswoman in the 1980s novels, and she has remained a congresswoman all the way into the year 2020. How the hell did she end up with a 40-year Congress career, all the way from the time when Soviet Union still existed? I imagine in the novel The Celtic Empire, she must look something like this. Yet she is described as looking stunning in an evening gown, and there are men who still want to hit on her. Okay, she and Dirk Pitt have hot sex together, or at least it's implied so in the novel. Dirk Pitt's children are depicted as people in their 20s, when they should actually be in their 50s. Dirk Pitt was an Air Force pilot in the Vietnam War. That's how old he is. He is a Vietnam War veteran who, in the year 2020, is still able to sexually arouse women in their 20s. These novels are full of fictional presidents that have fictional names. So if you read one of the novels from the 80s, it will have a fictional president. But then when you read later novels in the series, it will reference the names of real presidents that were in the White House at the time back in the 80s. So like in the 90s novels, there was a fictional president, but then later they mention that Bill Clinton was a real president. So is your mind getting fucked by this yet? In the novel Cyclops, there was an entire lunar habitat where some scientists are living on the moon. In the novel that comes after it, called Treasure, it says that the moon landing was faked, which it was in real life. But how can you write into your fictional world something as huge as an entire moon habitat, and then say the moon landing was faked? Are these novels even written by writers, or are they written by Masonic intelligence agencies, where they sell things like the Cold War or Islamic terrorism as being the real deal? In Gematria, National Underwater and Marine Agency does not add up to 666, but National Aeronautics and Space Administration does add up to 666. In contrast, in Kurt Austin novels, in which the years are also clearly labeled in the story, Kurt Austin is a hero who has stayed 40 years old into perpetuity. So while Dirk Pitt got younger, Kurt Austin just doesn't age. Since 1999, all the way until 2018, he has stayed 40 years old. Haha. Philip Mercer books also take place inside the Clive Cussler universe. In the novel Treasure, Dirk Pitt found the mummified body of Alexander the Great inside an ancient tomb in Texas, while Philip Mercer found the same mummified body of Alexander the Great in a tomb in Egypt in the novel Havoc. No, the body wasn't moved. No, it's not that there are two bodies. It's just literally contradicting world building. To make matters worse, in Celtic Empire, some guy is looking for the tomb of Alexander the Great, when, in this universe, the guy's dead body has already been discovered twice in two separate tombs. Wrap your head around that. In the novel Treasure, pre-Columbian contact with the New World was established as a fact, yet in the novel Serpent, taking place much later in the same universe, the characters act as if they might discover evidence of pre-Columbian contact with the New World for the first time. Wrap your head around that. Perhaps the most scary question is, why is it that no one who reads these books notices this? And if humanity can't notice something like this, then how can they notice all the more subtle Freemasonic lies that seriously affect us in the real world? I think briefly we need to touch upon other characters in this book as well. Dirk Pitt's buddy, El Giordino, is about just as old as Dirk Pitt and should be in his 70s as well, and yet he hasn't retired and still looks and is as strong as a man in his 40s. Admiral James Sandecker, I believe, was already in his 50s back in the 1980s. He's a vice president of the United States now. I think he might have been a vice president for more than 10 years already. I don't know how. He has to be pushing 90 years old now, and yet he runs 6 miles every morning as exercise. Saint Julian Perlmutter, I don't know why he's a saint, who is as fat as Wings of Redemption. He might have been in his late 60s or 70s back when he was introduced in the 1980s novels. Despite being fat like Wings of Redemption, he is still alive, and he's probably pushing 110 years old now. Dirk Pitt and military have a perfect overlap in gematria.